Hi there and welcome back to another NJS instructional video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to cook a whole chicken on an Espetosul rotisserie on a Kamado Joe. Now we're just over an hour and 20 minutes into this cook. However, it didn't start off like this. So let's go back to yesterday where it all started in the kitchen. So welcome back to the night before. Here is our fresh chicken. It's a free range Lilydale chicken. It weighs in at just over 1.8 kilos or around the 4-pound mark. Now this was purchased from our local supermarket. Now before we start seasoning, we will give this chicken a quick rinse under some cold water. We will then give it a pat dry with some paper towels, and then we'll remove any excess skin. After we do that, we'll place a little bit of olive oil all over the skin, and that'll act as a binder for our rub. And for our rubs, we'll be using a 2-part rub, which I'll cover shortly. Now that our chicken is pat dry, we're just going to have a quick look over it and just see if there's any excess skin that we should probably trim off. So just around the breast here, we'll just cut off a little bit of that excess skin. So pretty straightforward with the trimming. We don't need to remove too much skin or fat. We do want a little bit to protect the chicken and also for that fat to render down as we cook our chicken. So now we're ready to dry rub the chicken, and before we apply our dry rubs, we will coat the skin of the chicken with a bit of olive oil, and that'll act as a binder and help our rubs to adhere to the surface of the chicken. And for our chicken, we'll be using a 2-layer dry rub. For the first layer, I'll be using this Matador gyros and souvlaki dry rub. And for the finishing or top layer, I'll be using this lemon pepper dry rub. Now this stuff is quite incredible and you won't find it online or at any barbecue shop. So I ended up finding this at a food wholesaler and it really is a gem of a find. Now we'll just give our chicken a quick coat of some olive oil all around. And I'll just start with the top here. Now rub this olive oil all over the chicken and we'll repeat the same on the other side as well. So I'll grab our first layer of dry rub and just be liberal in your seasoning and get it all over the chicken. Pat it in. And then we'll apply some of our finishing layer. And we'll also place some inside. And be quite generous with what you put inside. And as that chicken rotates, that inside layer will also penetrate through to the meat and give it some really good flavour. So we'll flip our chicken over and do the exact same thing on the other side. And you'll notice that I've got one dirty hand and one clean hand. And that just makes it a little bit easier when doing our dry rub like this. So again, our first layer. And then our finishing layer. Just pat in there. And the last step is just with some butcher's twine, we'll just wrap the drumsticks and the wings and hold them tight to the body. And that way, as the chicken is rotating on the rotisserie, they're not just going to flap loose. Just using regular butcher's twine, we'll just come underneath and then secure our wings. And then just do a security knot to lock it all together, like that. And finally we'll do the drumsticks or the legs. So now that our chicken is dry rubbed and twined, I've just placed it on the bread rack and then within a tray. So as it refrigerates overnight, any juice that comes out doesn't wash off any of the dry rub from underneath. So we'll place this in the refrigerator. Now I've just placed the charcoal towards the back of the Kamado, and that way our chicken rotisserie, which is a bit more forward, won't have any hot coals directly underneath that. And that'll help prevent any flare up from any fat drippings that we may have. Additionally, I'm just going to place a few chunks of some additional lump charcoal. Now this lump charcoal does burn pretty hot, so you don't want too much heat. What we have here is probably more than enough for our rotisserie cook. And we'll just open the bottom vent fully. And now it's time to grab our loaf lighter and light up the charcoal. Now while our charcoal is lighting up, we'll just close the lid and open the top vent fully. Our bottom vent is already fully open as well. Now whilst we wait for our Kamado to come up to temperature, here is our chicken that we've allowed to dry brine and season overnight. Now we will skewer it and then we'll add an additional layer of each of our dry rubs. And then after that, we'll place it on our Kamado to start cooking. Now I have marked the halfway point of our skewer rod for our Kamado setup. So I'm just going to grab now these forks and place it on the skewer like that, and I'll place it in the position where I want it to stop, and that way our chicken can be nice and centered. So around there. Okay, let's skewer our chicken. Like that. And we'll just grab the other set of forks that and secure that. So now our chicken is all skewered. So we'll just place some more dry rub so you can see that some of it has come off. We'll do the same again on this side. Now, whole chicken on the rotisserie and in the Kamado is by far one of my favourite dishes to cook. It's also fairly simple and fairly inexpensive and very rewarding. Now, we didn't wet brine our chicken. I have had really good results with wet brining chicken, but I have found with the dry brine, there's probably not too much of a difference for the extra effort. Now this is ready to put on our Kamado. Now you may have seen I do also have a blue Weber kettle on my right, your left. If you want me to make some videos on that, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, time to start cooking. Now anticipate that this cook will take around 1 to 1.5 hours to completely cook through. And we are targeting an internal temperature of around 75 degrees Celsius for our chicken. And if you'd like to know more how I've set up the Espetosul Rotisserie Kit for our Kamado, be sure to check out my chicken gyros video in the link above. Now we'll close both the bottom and the top vents fully. And the reason we've done this is because we have an air gap all around. We have still oxygen feeding the fire. So I do want to reduce the amount of oxygen the fire gets, and that way control the heat a lot better. And by closing the top vent, we're allowing all that charcoal and smoke flavour to infuse our rotisserie chicken. Now we've just hit the 1 hour mark, so let's have a look at our chicken. And that is looking fantastic and smelling so, so good. So let's probe the chicken and check the internal temperature. 56, 50, 56. So we'll give it another 15 minutes and then check the temperature again. As that juice of the fat is dripping, it's going on the bottom of the Kamado and away from the charcoal, and that's also preventing any flare-ups. Now just quickly on our temperature, so around 170 degrees Celsius, or around that 335 degrees Fahrenheit mark. Now we're not really chasing a dome temperature as you would in something like a Joe Rotisserie, and that's because with our dome being open slightly to make way for our Espetosul Rotisserie, we aren't going to get a very high temperature, but we still do have that nice flame and heat that's coming through and penetrating and cooking our meat. All right, we've just hit the 1 hour and 10 mark, so let's have a look at our chicken. Oh, that's looking so, so good. Now let's probe it and check the internal temperature. 64, 66, 63. So we still have a little bit to go. We'll give it another 10 minutes and then reprobe. Now we've just hit the 1 hour and 30 mark, so let's check out our chicken. And we are ready to pull that chicken. Now we'll let our chicken rest for about 5 minutes and then we'll cut into it and see what it tastes like. Now whilst our chicken is resting, I'm just going to remove the fork tines. So now that our chicken has rested, it's time to carve into it and see what it tastes like. Look at that. That looks and smells amazing. It's nice and juicy. Let's give it a taste. There's few things better on the rotisserie than a whole chicken. That is incredible. That is incredibly juicy, incredibly tasty. Wow. Now before we cut any more, let's fast forward to tomorrow and do a post-cook review and then come back to today. Now our chicken yesterday turned out exceptionally well and it was a big hit with the family. Now the total cook time ended up being about 1.5 hours and then we let the chicken rest for about 5 minutes once we took it off the rotisserie. Now let's have a look at our Kamado and what's left of the charcoal. And as you can see, the majority of the charcoal ended up being lit, and that's evident from all the whites that we see around the charcoal. We do have some fat drippings down over here where our chicken was rotating and the fat was dripping straight down. Had we put charcoal all the way down here, we would have got those flare-ups, those fat flare-ups. We've still got a fair bit of charcoal still left over. So even the little charcoal that we did have at the start was more than sufficient for this 1.5 hour cook. And that's it for our post-cook review. Now I'm about to cut this into smaller pieces and serve it to the family. I really hope you found this video informative. Don't forget to like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that bell notification icon. Thanks for watching.